Hey everyone, today we're going on a pretty amazing journey to explore how Karnataka transformed itself. We're talking about how a state known for farms and forests became this absolute powerhouse of steel, sugar, and, of course, software. So, let's get right into it.
So, have you ever wondered how that actually happens? What are the magic ingredients that take a place and turn it into a hub for factories, jobs, and a booming economy? That's the big question we're looking at today, and trust me, Karnataka's story has some really fascinating answers.
The first big answer really comes down to having a powerful vision. And for Karnataka, that vision came from one man more than anyone else, Sir M. Viswesvaraya. His motto was so simple, but so urgent: industrialize or perish. He basically said that for the state to survive and thrive, it had to build. And that one idea, right there, laid the groundwork for everything that came next.
But look, a vision is just the start, right? This industrial revolution didn't just happen overnight. It was built carefully, step by step. So let's check out a few key moments on the timeline that really got the ball rolling.
It all began with a spark, and I mean that literally. Back in 1902, the Shivasamudra hydroelectric station was set up, giving the first factories the power they desperately needed. Then, starting around 1923, the real giants started to show up. We're talking big factories for steel, soap, and textiles. After India's independence, the central government's new policies gave this growth a huge push, paving the way for even more advanced industries.
Okay, let's start with the absolute backbone of any industrial economy: iron and steel. And here's a cool fact for you. Karnataka was the very first state in all of South India to set up its own iron and steel factory. A real pioneer.
Now, these massive factories weren't just placed randomly. They were super strategic. The first one was built in Bhandravathi, and then much later, a second major plant was opened in Torangal. And as you can see on the map, these spots were chosen because they were close to all the essential stuff they needed.
And this slide just perfectly shows the evolution over time. The original factory in Bhandravathi, which we now know as VISL, was a public sector pioneer, built way back in 1923. It used all the rich iron ore from the nearby hills. Now fast forward to 2001, and you got the Jindal plant in Bellary, a modern private company using the latest and greatest technology. It's the same industry, but a totally different world.
So what exactly does it take to make steel? Well, you can think of it like a recipe. Vissel needed some key ingredients: iron ore from Kamanagundi, a ton of water from the Bhadra River, lime, manganese, and of course a massive amount of power which they got from the Sharavati hydro station. All these local resources came together to literally forge the state's industrial future.
All right, so beyond the heavy stuff, Karnataka's factories also grew right out of its incredibly rich farmlands. The state didn't just have iron ore, it had these huge fields of cotton and sugarcane, and that's what sparked the next big wave of development.
The cotton textile industry is actually one of the oldest modern industries in the whole state. As you can see on the map here, the mills were all clustered in the northern Maidan, or the northern plains, which makes total sense because that's right where the cotton was being grown. It's a perfect example of turning a local crop into a really valuable product. And in all of this, one city became the undisputed king of cotton: Davangere. It became so important with so many mills that people started calling it the Manchester of Karnataka, comparing it to the world-famous textile hub over in England. But wait a minute, here's a really important question. If this industry was so huge and foundational, why have some of these historic mills been struggling or even closing down in recent years? It's a tough situation, but it's important to understand. Well, the reasons are kind of a perfect storm of modern problems. For one, sometimes there just isn't enough raw cotton to go around. A lot of the machinery in the older mills is, well, old and not very efficient. The power supply can be unreliable, and maybe the biggest one, there's super stiff competition from cheaper synthetic fibers. It's a classic story of an old industry facing a whole new set of challenges. Okay, let's talk about something a little sweeter: sugar. Karnataka is a huge player here. The industry is packed into what you could call the sugar belt, right in the fertile river basins of the Kaveri, Krishna, and Tungabhadra. Mandya is famously known as the sugar city, while Belagavi is the district that produces the most. Just how big of a deal is sugar in Karnataka? Get this, the state is the third largest producer in all of India. That is a massive contribution to the national economy, and it just shows you how vital these farm-based industries are to the state's success.
Okay, so we've got steel to build things and textiles to clothe people. What's next on the list? Well, you need things like paper for schools and communication, and you definitely need cement to build all the roads, dams, and cities of the future.
So the paper industry is mostly forest-based, using things like bamboo and wood pulp. The very first mill was set up in Bhadravati back in 1936. But here's a super cool connection. One of the key raw materials can also be something called bagasse, which is just the leftover fiber you get from crushing sugarcane. So one industry's waste becomes another's treasure. How cool is that?
And then you have cement. I mean, this stuff is literally the foundation of our modern lives. It's essential for all the construction you see around you every single day. Karnataka is a major producer because it just happens to have tons of the key ingredient, limestone. And guess where the first factory opened back in 1939? Yep, Bhadravati again.
All right, so from steel and cement, we're about to take a giant leap forward, right into the digital age. This brings us to the industry that put Karnataka, and especially its capital city, on the global map: information technology. You all know this name, I'm sure. Bangalore is famously called the Silicon Valley of India. And it's not just a cute nickname, it's the real deal. The city is recognized as one of the top 10 high-tech cities in the entire world.
So why here? What was the secret sauce? Well, it was really a mix of things. A huge talent pool coming from all the engineering colleges, a highly skilled workforce ready to go, good infrastructure like power and transport, and just a really supportive environment for businesses to grow. All those things together created the perfect ecosystem for a tech boom.
And of course, that kind of ecosystem acts like a magnet for the biggest names in the business. You've got global giants and homegrown heroes like Infosys, Wipro, and TCS. They all have a massive presence here, employing lots of people and driving incredible innovation.
So to kind of sum it all up, the state really has 5 major industrial regions. And while places like Belagavi, Dharwad, and Mysuru Mandya are super important, this chart makes it crystal clear who the heavyweight champion is. The Bangalore region contains a whopping 40% of the state's industries. That's a true testament to the power of the tech boom.
So from the smokestacks of the very first steel mills to the shiny glass campuses of the tech giants, Karnataka's industrial journey has been nothing short of incredible. It mastered steel, it mastered sugar, and it mastered software, which leaves us with one final, really exciting question to think about. What industry will Karnataka master next?